Thank you, Dr. Ferguson. And yeah, I almost don't know where to start, but basically, when I listen to the chairman speak, it's that, hey, you folks out there who are depending on Social Security, look, you already get enough. And for God's sake, what we don't want to do at all costs is make sure that billionaires pay their fair share, because that would be, and then hypothetically, what would happen? Dr. Swagel, has the general fund ever been used to pay for Social Security?
I don't.
And so it's never been used, but hypothetically, that's what we're using here to try to say to the American public that somehow this is part of it contributes to the debt and deficit. That is total BS. Now, let me ask a couple of questions here. Mr. Goss, if we were to raise the retirement age by 3 years, as has been proposed, what would that mean in terms of cut to benefits if we went from 67 to 70?
It would depend on how rapidly we did this, but at the point at which we had the retirement age raised by the 3 years, as you'd indicated earlier, that reduces retirement benefits, monthly benefits, and lifetime benefits by about 6.5% to 7% for each year that we raise. So an additional 3-year increase in the normal retirement age would in fact lower benefits by on the order of 20%.
Now, Mr. Goss, also, because we heard this question as well, what percentage of income does someone who makes $1 billion in wages contribute to Social Security?
Well, given that the most they're going to pay is their 6.2%, they and their employer on the first $168,600, I think the number comes out for a billionaire, for somebody with $1 billion of earnings, to about 0.1% of their total wages paid by them, and another 0.1% paid by their employer.
And what is a person making? What percentage is a person making $50,000 pay?
Well, they would pay their 6.2% by themselves, and their employer matching that.
So again,
with another
because we want to
6.2.
protect these billionaires and millionaires, it's unconscionable to think about the fact that they ought to pay their fair share, that they ought to be in a position where, as President Biden points out, if they do, we extend the solvency of the program for 66 years and we're able to add on benefits. I have another question that comes up because this happens frequently on the trail. Can you talk about how Social Security actually doesn't contribute a penny to the national debt?
Yes, be happy to. As I think everybody here is very well aware, Social Security has its trust funds, and the trust funds can only have positive balances. Social Security now has and never has had the ability to borrow from the general fund of the Treasury. That is in the current law. Anything could change in the future, but currently Social Security can only hold asset reserves, and as a result, with a roughly $34 trillion of total federal debt we have now, Social Security is actually covering approximately $3 trillion of that and not needing to be borrowed from the public at the moment. So Social Security can only really help service some of the debt that the rest of the government develops. It does not contribute towards the debt.
So for the general public to understand this, it's called a trust fund for a reason. And that trust fund has not been tapped into, nor will it ever be tapped into unless members of Congress have a different idea and want to change it. And they could through a vote if they decided that this is the tack they want to take. But the fact of the matter is, and it is a fact, that it doesn't contribute to the debt or deficit. And what aggravates people the most is they pay into this. So does their employer, but their employer gets a tax write-off. 23 million Americans get double taxed under current Social Security programs, and we as a body are the only ones that can change that. And instead, we don't put forward proposals that direct making the system both solvent and enhancing benefits because people desperately need this money. 40% of our fellow Americans, this is the only thing they have. 28 million Americans.
Gentleman's time.